Guys, welcome to today's video where I'm going to show you how to install the RCI steel skid plates step by step on your Toyota platform off-road build. As always, when the FedEx truck arrives, it's like Christmas morning for car guys. It took a beating in the truck, but it's totally fine. These things are meant to take a much harsher beating than that when off-road. Now I'm just unboxing all the parts, seeing how they look like. And let's take a look at how they are on the floor, all lined up like they're going to be put together under the GX. Now it's time to remove my ARB skid plates. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out the install video on these here. Okay guys, I somehow got the ARB skids balanced on this jack, so let's lower it down in a dramatically slow fashion. I'm leaving it all as one assembly just because I think that would be easiest for the next owner. I've already sold these. Yeah, sorry, not for sale anymore. These come out as one piece. It's actually pretty convenient, you guys. Last thing I need to remove is that transfer case skid thing. I don't know if you remember from the video where I installed these. That basically bolts into the transfer case. I could show you this guy. So I actually have to take the transfer case bolts out. I'm gonna red Loctite these. Not that I'm really worried about it, but just don't want those backing out. There it is. All right, let's see what this looks like next to the RCI stuff. And as you might expect, it looks a little dinky compared to this absolute steak right here. Okay, it's almost the same length as the gas tank skid. Yeah, that's about the same width. So yeah, definitely upgrading with the RCI. But these are perfectly adequate for some overlanding protection from brush and some rocks and stuff like that. I mean, it'll protect your stuff, but maybe it'll only protect it one or two good hits rather than endless amount, like probably is the case with the RCIs. Another thing I want you to take a look at this thickness. I'll find out the specs of that and try to post them on screen. Way thicker on the RCI. They are heavier though. I mean, this weighs not much, you guys. So it's gonna be trade-offs for everything. And what you're getting in return for putting up with the extra weight is a huge amount of coverage area advantage over the ARB skids, as you can see here. Not only that, but as I showed earlier, the steel is much thicker and resistant to damage. Before you start, scan the QR code on the hardware bags to launch the instructions. And while I have the front skid off, I wanted to make an emergency PSA to anybody who owns a 2003 to an early 2005 Lexus GX 470. The passenger side diff mount on those early GX models is not adequate for any sort of hard wheeling, and Lexus ended up updating the part in late 2005, so if you haven't already, get that updated part. Here's the part number on the screen. If you go too hard with the early model diff mount, it can break and puncture your oil pan and spill all of your oil all over the trail. This has happened recently as posted by a GXOR forum member, but it was a known issue in the past as well on some old I Hate Mud forums, so get yourself the updated part number. I may do a more full-length video on this in the future, but just wanted to make that PSA now. Alright guys, and here is what our stack looks like. You have this nylon spacer, this guy right here, and then you have a washer right here, and then you have this 40mm bolt this time. Now, you could tell the difference with the normal bolts in this one, because this one has an unthreaded bit of shank here, so that's how you know it's the 40mm one that the instructions are talking about. I'm just gonna finish tightening this one, the fronts, this sides, and then I have to get these middle ones in, and these are the other 30mm ones, along with the washer. Oh, we got it pretty close there. Anyways, after that's done, the engine skid is over with. However, I'm gonna leave these back ones loose a bit because I believe the transmission skid slots in here somehow. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so with the transmission skid plate, I'm gonna loosen the rear engine mounting bolts. I'm gonna slide the nylon spacers up so they contact the frame. Then I'm gonna sneak these guys in between the engine skid plate and those nylon spacers. So the order is vehicle frame, nylon spacer, this guy on the transmission skid plate, and then the engine skid plate underneath on the bottom. So as you can see, I have the front of the transmission skid plate here, and the rear goes right here into these holes right there. So go ahead and rip those guys out and get your lengthened bolts with a washer ready to go in place of these through the transmission skid plate. I've loosened the engine skid ones again, and let's see if that gives us enough light. So now I have to basically lift up these nylon spacers and slot in this transmission skid right into there. Okay, believe I have driver's side in. Now I'm just gonna head over to the passenger side and do the same exact thing over there. Ground, engine skid, transmission skid, then the nylon spacer, then frame. I'm just gonna cinch these up temporarily, and then we're gonna move on back here. As you can see, I've disconnected these two braces, and we have some spacers right there. I kind of fill in this gap right here. You just bolt it through there. Spacer should fit right there. Then we have washer and bolt. It's a little closer for us, a lot closer. That is gonna do it for tonight. Still have to put the transfer case skid on and then the gas tank skid. As you can see, those pieces are right here and right there. Gonna be all protected up with RCI's massive, massive steel skids. Before we put on this transfer case skid, let's go ahead and get the gas tank skid off because it can get in the way. And as you'll see later, I was right about needing to remove the stock gas tank skid before the transfer case skid. To remove it's pretty simple. Just get those 3 bolts on the driver's side. Then you just have 3 long legs that have bolts going into the upper part of the frame there. And you could just get one on the front passenger, one on the rear passenger, and then this one on the rear driver's side. And it should drop down, and this is how it looks. Next, you need to remove this lower bolt from the exhaust hanger bracket here and just go ahead and loosen the upper bolt. That one does not need to be removed. In fact, I would recommend against removing it. You're just gonna need to slot this cross member up into place there. As you might imagine, it was a serious ab workout being under here and operating the jack with my legs and my feet on the jack handle going towards the front of the car, but ended up working out just fine. It allowed me to get this cross member right in place. All right guys, check it out. On the passenger side, we're just gonna tighten this guy to where that exhaust hanger bolt is on the bottom, okay? So that's gonna look like this. We get an extension maybe. We'll just keep cranking it, baby. Anyways, that's on its way. If you look over here on the other side, see, perfectly lined up right there. So that's great. So yeah, I don't think this would work
if we had the stock gas tank skid in place, so glad I removed that. Okay, that one's ready to be tightened up, along with this one over here.
I was running the engine and transmission skid for just a few days, so I had to tighten it up. But of course, if you're installing this all at once, you just leave the rear transmission skid bolts loose.
Tightening these bolts up a little bit. Hit them with the wrench next.
The floor jack is a requirement for this step, which I'll talk about why here.
Just gonna show you what I did on the other side over here. I got the jack on this cross brace, and then it pushes that up against the frame, because otherwise it kind of sags down, you know, pushes against those. So once that's pushed up, then you can get your spacer. I'm gonna actually make sure these are threaded properly first. That one looks good. Okay, now it's just the spacer in there. Now we just gotta give it a few Oogie Dougies. Hit it with the wrench. That should do it. Now we're focusing on these guys, which I kind of started putting in. There's one final one here, but basically they have this nut washer and lock nut assembly, and going into a flat head bolt. So I got to tighten it from this side. Here's the little stack, and then you just got your bolt, which I seem to have lost. Nope, it's right here. This guy goes up here and it locks against the skid using these square deals right here. And then you just find it on the top and get the thread started and come back to tighten it later. And let me just show you what I'm doing on the top. Now you're just gonna get your big boy 11/16 wrench and start tightening them down. It's so relaxing. All right, and all of the non-gas tank skids are in. This is so much coverage, you guys. It's so awesome.
And that's all for the transfer case skid. Now let's get started on the gas tank skid, the heaviest one of the bunch. You just need to unpackage these 3 legs that go in where the stock ones go, as you'll see.
Here's how the legs go. Longest one goes rear passenger. Shortest one goes rear driver. Okay, that's simple enough. And then the mid-length 37-degree one goes front passenger. Oh wait, I have 2, and neither of them fit perfectly like the other ones. I'm thinking because this one is slightly under, and I know for sure that this one goes here, that and the short one there is slightly shorter. I'm gonna go with the shorter one of the 2. I'm not sure why they sent me this one, but who knows. I'm going to keep this in reserve, the kind of longer, not quite 40-degree leg, and maybe I'll need it later, maybe I won't, but yeah, let's just install those legs first, and then we'll move on to installing the skid plate. Yeah, this is really tight with the transfer case skid. As you can see right up here, it's right up against that cross member. So let's see if we can clear it. Okay, so I did pretty good for doing it myself. These legs are supposed to be inside of the tank skid.
But this one in the back, of course, is outside, but that's okay. That's why I kind of left it loose and didn't fully install it. So I'm just gonna zip that bolt out, put this guy on the inside, and zip it back up for good. And this front one made it inside as well. So 2 out of 3. Let's just take care of these real quick, and then all we gotta do from then is mount up these carriage bolts. The instructions say they can go on the outside or the inside out, doesn't matter. I think I'm gonna go with this side toward the fuel tank. So coming out like that, just because this is smoother and I don't want to damage the fuel tank. So let's keep going. Here's a final install. So 1, 2, 3 bolts. You have this carriage bolt. I put the nut on the outside on this one, and the smooth part, yeah, there's just no way to see it, but you saw them before. And on this side, I decided to do the opposite with the smooth part on the outside, because the biggest worry out here is the drive shaft. And I've had someone hit me up, Diamond Lock GX, said that with long travel suspension, which I may get eventually, I can contact here, so I wouldn't want to exacerbate that by having a big nut assembly like this sticking out. And that brings me to the last one, which is right here. I ended up needing the shorter of the 2 available 37 degree things, so but I did have to push up on this to make it fit. But the other one was just way too long, no matter what. Guys, this is insane, the level of protection. Loving it. Let's go wheeling. So guys, thanks so much for watching today's video and for learning how to install these RCI skid plates. I'm really excited to get these things out on the trail and scraping over some rocks. Let me know what you think of this kit and if you would run it on your GX470 or other Toyota platform vehicle. We'll see you in the next video.